Ocean reflections, the thrum of a nightclub, the rustle of designer dresses. It all hits at once during a single whirlwind trip. Just yesterday, she was washing baby clothes and falling asleep to cartoon sounds. Today, champagne in a Bayview suite, and the hands of a man whose every minute is booked until dawn. She wasn't betraying anyone, wasn't destroying anything. She was just trying to feel alive again. Because being a good wife and a caring mother doesn't always mean being happy. Sometimes all it takes is one weekend to realize you don't want to go back. But every glamorous photo, every lavish gift comes with a cost. When someone else's child calls your daughter sister, and your replacement wears the ring that could have been yours, it becomes painfully clear. Wishes do come true, just not always for you. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments. So, let's get started.
I know this might not land well with everyone, but I have to say it. Because honestly, I'm done being cast as the villain in all of this. My name's Kendall. I'm 27 now. And what most people label the biggest regret of my life happened when I was 25. But as time goes on, I find myself questioning whether it was really a mistake at all. So here's my side. At 22, my life looked flawless on paper. I was married to a man named Travis who had a stable job in logistics. It wasn't flashy, but it paid our bills. We had a small but comfortable house in Phoenix and a gorgeous baby girl named Zara. Everyone kept telling me how lucky I was to have built such a stable life so young. But inside, I was slowly disappearing. Each day felt like a carbon copy of the last. Travis would head off to work, and I'd stay home, juggling Zara, cleaning the house, making dinner, and waiting for him to come back so we could scroll through Netflix together and pretend that was enough. Meanwhile, my college friends were living it up in Miami, posting selfies with celebrities, going to exclusive events, and dating men who treated them like queens. And there I was, dabbing baby spit off my blouse and getting excited over a rare dinner at Applebee's, if we even managed to find a babysitter. To be clear, Travis wasn't a bad guy. He just didn't have any fire. He'd come home and talk endlessly about work like I was supposed to find shipping schedules and inter-office drama fascinating. He thought picking up a cheap bouquet from the grocery store counted as romance. And his idea of a getaway? Camping. To save money, of course, instead of an actual vacation where I could relax. Everything about our world felt cramped and uninspired. One day, it hit me. I hadn't chosen someone thrilling or ambitious. I'd simply gone with the first guy who seemed stable. And what made it worse was how everyone around me expected me to be endlessly grateful. My mom always praised Travis for being a responsible provider, saying I was lucky he came home every night. My sister reminded me that dependable men were rare, but none of them saw how empty I felt. Having financial security isn't the same as actually being alive. I was 22, and I already felt like I'd missed my shot. I started following glamorous influencers on Instagram. Women living large in Miami, decked out in designer clothes, dining at Michelin star restaurants, partying on yachts, dating men who spared no expense to make them feel special. One of my best friends, Juliana, had moved there after graduation. She was dating a music producer who surprised her with a BMW. Just because. She'd text me pictures from VIP lounges and clubs where A-listers mingled. I'd stare at those images, then look around my own living room and wonder how I'd ended up here. Travis noticed something had shifted. He could tell I was unhappy, but instead of hearing me out, he got defensive. He'd ask if our life wasn't good enough or accuse me of chasing superficial dreams. Like wanting something more than laundry and reruns made me shallow. He didn't understand that I felt trapped in a neighborhood where the most exciting thing was a new sandwich shop in the strip mall. Everything boiled over when Juliana invited me to visit her in Miami for a weekend. She told me I needed to see what I was missing. And truthfully, she wasn't wrong. I was desperate to feel like something more than a caregiver and someone's wife. When I told Travis about the trip, he got controlling, questioning why I needed to party when I had a baby at home. As if becoming a mother meant I had to give up joy, adventure, or a sense of self. That's when I realized he didn't really see me anymore. In his eyes, I was just Zara's mom and his wife. so I bought the ticket anyway. And no matter what people say about what came after, that decision was the best one I'd made in years. That weekend in Miami changed everything for me. Juliana picked me up from the airport in a sleek BMW. Another unexpected gift from her boyfriend, not tied to any special occasion, just because he wanted to spoil her. That moment felt like stepping into another universe, one where love wasn't measured by budget grocery flowers. The hotel was stunning. Panoramic ocean views, floor-to-ceiling glass, and room service that actually tasted gourmet. Not the same tired places Travis always defaulted to. Juliana looked amazing, dressed in head-to-toe designer, glowing with confidence, every detail of her appearance flawless. She welcomed me warmly, but I could see the surprise in her eyes when she saw how worn down I looked. Our first stop was a shopping spree. Juliana insisted I couldn't walk around Miami looking like a suburban housewife, and covered the cost of a few stylish outfits herself. I hesitated, but once I tried everything on and looked in the mirror, something inside me shifted. I didn't see the exhausted version of myself. I saw the woman I used to be. Someone who deserved to be noticed. Someone who didn't have to accept wilted roses and budget fun. That night, we had dinner at a high-end restaurant where the staff greeted Juliana's boyfriend like royalty, then hit a nightclub where we were ushered straight into the VIP section. This wasn't some sports bar where we split an appetizer and argued about money. This was a world I'd forgotten existed. A world where I came alive again. And that's where I met Roman. He'd just wrapped up a performance. A rapper with charisma that filled the room. The moment he stepped into the lounge, every woman turned to look. There was something electric about him. Something Travis could never replicate. There is something magnetic about genuine confidence. The kind that comes from actual achievements. When Roman first struck up a conversation with me, asking about my background and interests, he listened attentively. Like every word I said mattered. He wasn't distracted, didn't cut me off to talk about himself, and never once glanced at his phone. Unlike Travis, who always made me feel like I was talking to a wall, Roman looked straight at me and said I was far too beautiful to be living such an ordinary life. And deep down, I believed him. He told me I had the energy of someone meant for something far bigger than the quiet existence I'd settled into. When he asked for my number, I didn't even pause. For the first time in years, I felt like a woman again. Desired, appreciated. Not just a wife and stay-at-home mom. That weekend felt like stepping into an entirely new reality. Every elegant dinner, every upscale lounge, every luxurious moment felt like what I should have been experiencing all along. Flying back to Phoenix felt like plunging back into dull monochrome after seeing the world in dazzling color. Travis picked me up at the airport with Zara strapped into her car seat, and as I looked at them, they felt oddly distant, like people I used to know. He tried to ask about my trip, make small talk, but his questions felt flat and lifeless after everything I'd just experienced. Then he suggested grabbing dinner at that same generic restaurant we always went to, and I almost laughed. After where I'd just been, how could he not realize how small that sounded? That night, when he reached for me in bed, hoping for closeness I couldn't even pretend, all I could feel was the growing distance between being someone's habit and being genuinely wanted by someone who saw my worth. Roman had already started messaging me, sending pictures from recording sessions, inviting me to exclusive events, talking to me like I was someone he truly valued, not just a contact in his phone. In that moment, the choice I had to make became obvious. And truthfully, it wasn't hard. The next few weeks were miserable. I had to pretend everything was fine while secretly planning my exit. Meanwhile, Roman was sending me daily updates from a life that felt vibrant and full of potential. He kept saying I wasn't meant for a life boxed in by suburbia and small expectations. Every text from him reminded me of what I was missing while stuck in the same tired routine. Travis began to sense something had shifted, but instead of trying to meet me emotionally, he turned clingy and suspicious. He'd demand to know who I was texting, where I was going, why I was out so much. As if I couldn't be trusted to have a life outside of him. The irony? His attempts to tighten his hold only made me want to escape faster. I started inventing reasons to leave the house. Girls' nights, shopping trips, made-up errands, any excuse to reconnect with a world that felt larger than diapers and dishes. Roman would call while I was out, and talking to him felt like surfacing for air after being underwater too long. He'd talk about his latest projects, the deals he was closing, his vision for the future. All things that felt exciting, purposeful, alive. Then came the invitation that sealed everything. He asked me to spend a full week with him in Miami. He said he wanted to show me what it felt like to be truly valued. At that point, I knew I was standing at a crossroads. I could either remain stuck in a life I'd emotionally outgrown, or finally step into the one I'd always felt drawn to. When I sat Travis down and told him I wanted a divorce, he broke. He kept asking what he'd done, begged to try therapy, promised to change. But that was the whole problem. He thought the issue could be fixed by tweaking himself, when in reality, I didn't want any version of this life anymore. I hadn't felt truly content in a long time, and he was too focused on maintaining the status quo to notice I was falling apart. What I needed wasn't for him to improve. I needed someone entirely different. Someone ambitious, successful, and capable of building the kind of life I knew I deserved. My parents were furious. They accused me of throwing away a good marriage for no reason, lectured me about responsibility and security like that was all life was about. My mother cried, swearing I'd regret leaving Travis because men like him don't come around twice. But they couldn't understand that I'd already met someone who saw my potential. Someone who didn't just put up with me, but believed I was meant for more. To my surprise, the divorce process moved quickly. My lawyer helped me negotiate a fair agreement. Alimony, child support, and I kept the house since I was Zara's primary caregiver. Travis was so desperate not to lose me that he didn't fight much. I felt a twinge of guilt, but not enough to trade my freedom for his comfort. People called me selfish, but staying would have been the real act of selfishness. Staying meant trapping all of us in a quiet, slowly unraveling life. Zara deserved a mother who felt alive, not one silently mourning the life she didn't pursue. When the divorce was finalized, Roman flew me out to celebrate. We dined at a high-end restaurant where the service made us feel like royalty, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. This was the kind of life I was made for, one where I was cherished by someone successful, someone who wanted to give me the best, not out of obligation, but because he believed I deserved it. I began spending more time in Miami, often leaving Zara with my parents or Travis on the weekends. Everyone acted like I was neglecting my responsibilities, but for the first time, I was living by my own rules. Roman's world was filled with ambition, creativity, and people chasing excellence, not clinging to sameness. Whenever Travis called to arrange pickups or talk about Zara, even the sound of his voice felt diminished, like it belonged to someone from a life I no longer recognized. A small part of me felt some pity for him, but mostly I was just relieved that I'd escaped before sinking more time into someone who'd never truly meet my needs. Life in Miami turned out to be much more overwhelming than I had imagined. To be fair, Roman was incredible when we were together, but he was hardly ever present. He was constantly on the move, flying to events, gigs, or business meetings. I spent far too many nights alone in luxury hotel rooms, staring at my phone, waiting for a message, wondering when he'd be done in the studio. His inner circle, especially the women, didn't exactly make room for me. There was always this underlying competition. Silent assessments, sideways glances, veiled comments about who really belonged and who didn't. I tried to assimilate, but it became clear there were hidden rules about how to look, how to act, even how to speak in front of certain people. Back in Phoenix, I understood the social codes. Whenever I called Roman feeling disconnected or unsure, he'd remind me that this was just how things worked in the entertainment scene, and that I had to grow a thicker skin. He wasn't entirely wrong, but that didn't change the fact that I often felt more like an ornament than a partner, isolated in a place where no one really saw me. Meanwhile, Travis kept sending me pictures of Zara. At her soccer games, school recitals, dance class. He never guilt-tripped me about not being there, but those snapshots stung more than I wanted to admit. Eventually, Zara started asking when I was coming home for good, and I didn't have the heart to tell her I was chasing something I believed would eventually be better for both of us. Roman and I shared some dazzling moments. Red carpet events, tropical getaways, mingling with celebrities. But those highs were separated by long stretches of silence and solitude that made Phoenix look like a haven. At least there, I had a place where I belonged, a familiar routine, and people who cared about me beyond surface appearances. The glamorous life came with its own cost. Roman took care of most of the expenses, but the constant pressure to maintain a perfect image, wear high end fashion, and stay in the right circles never let up. Back home, I could unwind and be myself. In Miami, everything was performance, illusion, and the worst part was, I wasn't even sure I was convincing anyone. Then things started to feel off. Roman began receiving a flood of late-night messages from women. When I asked about them, he brushed them off as work-related, but the tone of those texts didn't sound like business. Whenever I brought it up, he'd get defensive, accuse me of being jealous, just like Travis once did. But Travis's suspicion had come from love, from fearing I might leave. Roman, by contrast, acted like my concerns were an inconvenience. That realization hit harder than I cared to acknowledge. Still, I pushed it down, telling myself I'd sacrificed too much to backtrack now. But by the time we hit the 6-month mark, things were clearly falling apart. Roman became more distant, constantly claiming he was tied up with work, finding any reason not to spend time with me. Then I'd open Instagram and see him smiling at events I hadn't even heard about, surrounded by glamorous women, clearly enjoying life without me. When I finally confronted him, he dismissed me as overly clingy and said we were never officially exclusive. It felt like a slap in the face. I had torn apart my old life under the illusion that we were building something meaningful. That's when Juliana pulled me aside and told me what apparently everyone else already knew. Roman had been dating other women all along. I wasn't special. I was just one more name in his rotation, easily replaced. And the whole time, I'd been boasting to friends and family back home about how I'd elevated my life, showing off a fantasy that wasn't even real. The truth crushed me. I'd abandoned a steady marriage, a loving home, and time with Zara for a man who never intended to see me as anything but temporary. Going back to Phoenix felt like a humiliating defeat. I had been so sure of my choice, so vocal about how I was chasing something bigger. Now I had to return to the people who warned me, fully aware they had been right. The hardest blow, though, came when I found out Travis had moved on. He was dating Sabrina, a woman from his office, prettier, younger, and, according to everyone, perfect for him. She was reportedly amazing with Zara. Seeing them together at school events was unbearable. She looked at him the way I once did, and he looked genuinely content in a way I never saw during our marriage. My parents tried to be kind, but every word carried a subtle note of, "We told you so." Even the most casual conversations felt laced with lessons about poor choices and regrets. My old friends had moved forward while I was busy pretending to live a dream in Miami. Now I was back in a place that had kept moving without me, struggling to reclaim some version of belonging. The house felt empty and foreign after the chaos I had left behind. Swapping out luxurious dinners and penthouse views for takeout in the same old neighborhood was a soul-crushing downgrade. I found myself endlessly scrolling through Roman's online posts, desperate for a glimpse of what I thought I'd lost, when in reality, I had never truly been a part of that world to begin with. He ended up with an Instagram influencer, the complete opposite of me. She was younger, deeply embedded in his industry, probably less complicated and far easier to handle than I ever was. Watching their life unfold online felt like seeing someone else live out the dream I had once believed was mine. And it wasn't just Roman I kept tabs on. I'd often find myself browsing Travis's girlfriend's Facebook, quietly resenting how perfect their new little family appeared, especially in the photos where my daughter was grinning from ear to ear. Sabrina seemed to ease into the role I had fumbled, without even breaking a sweat. She was attentive, emotionally present, and genuinely satisfied with a lifestyle I used to find suffocating. The loneliness that followed was crushing, but I couldn't bring myself to admit I might have made the wrong call. Not after how adamantly I defended my decisions. 2 years on, I'm still in the same house, living off the alimony and holding down a part-time job that mainly involves answering phones and organizing paperwork. It's dull, but truthfully, it's all I can handle right now. My confidence has been so eroded I barely recognize the person I've become. Just last month, Roman's engagement announcement was splashed all over social media. He proposed to the same model, and now she's living the life I once imagined would be mine. A public commitment, a shared vision. The stable relationship I had once convinced myself Roman would eventually offer me. They just purchased a stunning home in Los Angeles, and now she's expecting. She's stepping into the exact life I thought I had secured when I walked away from my marriage. As for Travis, he married Sabrina 6 months ago in a picture-perfect ceremony. Zara was their flower girl, beaming in every photo like she belonged there. I know I shouldn't have been looking, but I couldn't help myself. They just upgraded to a bigger house in a more upscale neighborhood. From what I've seen, Sabrina embodies everything I never became. Grateful, steady, fully content with the kind of quiet life I once ran from. What hurts the most? Zara seems genuinely happy with them. She rarely even asks to come stay with me now. And when she does, all she talks about is Sabrina, how she helps with homework, cooks her favorite pancakes, and taught her how to braid friendship bracelets. I've become a weekend presence in my own daughter's life, watching from the margins while another woman fills the role I thought was mine to own. My friends now treat me like a cautionary tale. They've built families, found stability, embraced the very lives I used to mock as boring. And here I am, alone, a mother in name only, the one who once had it all and threw it away chasing some idealized fantasy. They don't say it outright, but I see it in their eyes when they talk about their spouses and children. They act like gratitude should have been enough, but none of them understand what it felt like. To slowly vanish inside a life that looked perfect on the surface but left me feeling completely unseen. I still keep tabs on Roman's Instagram. I shouldn't, but I do. His world looks dazzling. Grammy nominations, sold-out tours across continents, and a fiancé who moves through it all with an ease I never possessed. I catch myself wondering, if I had just been more patient, less demanding, more tolerant of his lifestyle, would he have chosen me in the end? Travis is thriving too. He landed a major promotion, and he and Sabrina are now trying for a child together. It feels like both of them, Roman and Travis, took the lessons from their time with me and became the best versions of themselves. Just not for me. They edited me out of their stories and found fulfillment elsewhere. Everyone has moved forward. Except me. I remain here, stuck in the very home that was meant to represent my independence, but instead serves as a daily reminder of everything I gave up. People suggest I try to rebuild, maybe start dating again, but I'm just so tired. Tired of chasing after a life that clearly wasn't meant for me. I'm only 27, yet it feels like my future already came and went while everyone else's is just getting started. What stings the most? Knowing I'm the one who caused all of this. And I can't even say that out loud, because doing so would just prove everyone right. So I stay here, still checking Sabrina's Facebook, still watching Roman's stories, still holding on to a fantasy I once believed I deserved. And all the while, I sit alone in a house that was supposed to be a symbol of freedom, but only echoes back, day after day, the price I paid trying to chase something more.